Hey, good morning, everyone. Good morning. So, looks like we have a little bit of a problem with feed on Instagram. I have a bug in my software, so it's going to be YouTube today. So hopefully everyone is doing okay. And I'm going to talk about a couple levels. I'm going to talk about several things that I'm seeing in the market that I'm interested in either catching or just want you guys to be aware of. So let's dive into that. Yesterday, I took one trade yesterday, literally one trade. I shorted the NASDAQ right at market open. So right here, as you can see, I had my trigger fire and I took that short. Now, I thought I was going to take a trade when I fired right here, but I ended up not taking this position. I had quite a nice signal right off of that second little push, right? And what I mean by signal is just look at the volume that was elevated here, specifically using the CVD. If you just check that out, it's a fairly decent signal. So just wanted to bring that up, right? Just took the one trade yesterday, had a decent day. I thought that my one trade, was enough. And coincidentally, we had a short signal right here too. It's a pretty decent short signal. But now let's talk about levels. Where are we on Qs? Where are we on SPY? I think we had an interesting day via volume yesterday. So let's check out SPY and let's check out QQQ. And let's look at them on not the monthly, but the daily time frame. Okay, so what do we have right here? That's a pretty candle. It really is. So yesterday we were almost going to finish on a doji on some of these, but this tells me that buyers showed up, right? Look at that volume that came in. I talked about this before where, yeah, we were looking at a turn, but there was a clear bear flag on the daily and also the 4-hour time frame, right? It's clearly there. What's now pretty clear here? Pretty clear that there's buyers, right? We're going to include aftermarket data, right? Got to be fair. So there's buyers here. So we have a new support. Support is 550. Okay, it's 550. So what are we waiting on? We're waiting on April 2nd. What is the market going to interpret after new fundamental data comes out? And then we'll see exactly if we are going to hold a triple bottom here, if we were to roll back or not. Okay. Usually in markets and situations like this, statistically speaking, right? Because I, just in case you've never traded with me or, you have no idea, I'm listening to this guy for the first time, right? I have to always be aware because with recordings, there's always a first person that is seeing what it is that we're doing, right? For the first time. So just in case you're not aware, I don't make decisions based off my opinion. That doesn't happen. That's not what a trader is. A trader makes a decision based on what he or she is seeing on the chart. So right now, I want to point out a couple things. I like using moving averages, and I like using patterns, and I also like using volume. Volume for me is it makes every trading decision that I ever make. So we have volume behind these two candles, right? Right around, let's just look at this on the 15-minute time frame. Without using anything too technical, there was a very clear buy signal right here. What is that clear buy signal? The buy signal is when the 5 overcame the 21, right? Those are the moving averages that I use. So if you follow that and you're looking for some confluence with some sort of oscillating indicator, you don't have to go too far. You just use the RSI. If you want to use the MACD, you use the MACD. That's fine. These are a little bit of the higher time frames. So when we're looking at higher time frames, anything above 15 minute, 15, 30, 1 hour, the higher you go, then the less noise you remove. You're removing all of these little jitters that happen. But you also give up a lot of the precise entry, right? This is what retail traders and this is what short-term traders are all about. They want to be precise and they don't want to be holding positions for long term. So the happy medium is 15. That's a happy medium right there. So when you're looking at the 15-minute time frame, you had a clear signal here to go short, which I didn't take. I don't know why I didn't take that trade. It's because that kind of fired, looks like 6:30 in the morning. I need to start waking up early I have some things that I'm working on in the background to try to mitigate a lot of the time that I spend on the screen. So yeah, would I have fired on that trade? More than likely I would have. Would I have been stopped on that rogue wave or rogue wick? I don't think I would have. If I set my stop loss to the levels that I generally set it at, no, I wouldn't have been stopped out. But anyway, starting to go off on a tangent here. My bad. Signal right there. So that signal came in at 550, 550.50. We trade back down into that area. That is the demand level. Okay, that's what it is for right now. You also have an order block for those of you that like to trade that particular style. You have one approximately there. So there's a gap to fill lower. You obviously have a rejection. You have a pre-market, and then you also have it during market session. You have it at 559.50. So you either fill right here, you look for support, and then you look for whatever trigger that you look for, watch it around a support and resistance level. Not many traders will tell you this, but a lot of the systems that we use, a lot of the confluence that we use, we're basically looking at almost the same thing. Your system is probably going to tell you, hey, take a long or a short at 553.90. My system might tell me, hey, 553.50. Basically the same area, right? I like to talk about territories, right? I like to talk about zones, because zones is where us, all of us, right? Traders, institutional traders, professional traders, don't matter. Where all of us are looking for certain conditions to trigger or fire on a position. Obviously, when we hit those particular levels, then the decision is made. As a buyer or a seller, are we going to short or are we going to go long? That's the whole thing with the market, right? Those are just fundamental things that need to be understood. Now, what is going to ultimately fire on a longer short for me? It's going to be when the fast moving average either underpins or overcuts the slower moving average. The slower moving average being the 21. I like using the 21 quite a bit, okay? So a lot of selling pressure here towards the end of the day, despite the fact that we had a rally, right? We had on SPY. I'm just talking about SPY right now. I'm going to bring up the other stocks, but I want to specifically go over SPY. 2.4% off of the bottom. Qs was even more significant. There's that signal right there, right? I don't know why I didn't pick up on that. I was working yesterday and I took my one signal and I was like, I think that this is good enough, right? We're down 2.5% on Qs. I'm like, I don't think we're going anywhere. So almost 2.5% since trough to peak, right? A little bit more than that, actually. So what are we waiting for here? We're waiting on a potential support in that area. Why? Because we consolidated here for a little bit. So wherever there's consolidation, usually it's a magnetized area, right? If you like to use volume profiles, right, which I do, that's a volume profile. That's a node. That's what that's called. So that volume profile is going to tell you, all right, there was a high exchange of buyers and sellers approximately in this area. Do you have a node right here? A little bit, yeah. And you have a node back down here. Do you have a node all the way back to the low of day of yesterday? Not really. So these are the areas that I'm going to watch. I'm going to watch that for support or resistance, supply or demand. Let's check out the 30-minute time frame to put this into more context. As you can see, I have this whole area for me to watch. Where do you think specifically off the 30-minute time frame, right? Remember, I don't trade opinion. I don't trade opinion. I try to trade. Oh, there's a nice little candle right there. 838. Let's see if we get a signal right here. That's interesting. That's a signal, right? That's definitely a signal. Let's check out. This is kind of cool because this doesn't usually happen when I'm doing my sessions. Let's check out the 10-minute time frame. Let's see what we got. All right, we had a little bit of a bump there on Qs. Let me see if I can continue. Yep, it's moving. So there's volume come in. I'm going to be checking that out after I'm done recording here on YouTube. I'm gonna check this out and see if I can catch a play or catch some sort of movement, right? So I want to catch a long, right? I want to see if we can catch a long going into tomorrow, possibly. Yeah, we'll see. Either that or we trade back down here. Okay, let's go over IWM. IWM is the same situation. It's still in the doghouse. There's a lot of inconsistencies off of the 15-minute. Let's check out the 30-minute. 30-minute time, never mind this. This is a trade example that I was giving during a teaching session, which I wanted to catch that trade, but we broke below my support level. Okay, so we're still in the doghouse right now on the 30-minute time frame. What are we waiting for? We're either waiting to break above 199.90 or trade back down into this area. Not any different than what I just said on SPY and Qs. Okay, so what else do we have? Let's check out DIA. Is there anything interesting here? There was a cleaner signal on DIA, it seems like. A little bit better than what it was on IWM. So let's check out the higher time frames on the 1 hour. Yeah, it's looking good. It's looking really, really good. What do I want? I want to retest back down to this area or a retest back down here. So we just created a higher low, did we not? Trade back down into this area, hold this area, and then possibly along. Okay, possibly along. I don't know what's going to happen here in half an hour, or actually a little bit more than that, in roughly about 50 minutes. I have no idea what's going to happen in market open, right? That no one does. No one does. So I'm going to follow along with whatever price action is telling me to do. So on the 1 hour time frame, I have my target areas. I always plan out my trades. There's no trade that I ever take that's not planned out. So I'm looking for these pockets, whatever pocket we trade into, and usually there's a couple of them. I'm saying, okay, so if there's a pocket here, if I trade into that, I'm just going to watch it, see how it reacts there. There's a pocket approximately here, right? I don't like to go off of the 4 minute time frame and say, all right, let's play a guessing game into where we're going. I don't think that that's very conducive. I don't think that that's an effective use of your time. What I generally am looking for is if I'm trading into a higher time frame demand or support, I'm looking for a reaction off that level. We just got that recently on the 30-minute time frame. We got a reaction penetrating below here, but the signal was already given here. So you see what I'm saying? I'm looking for confluence factors. If I get 2, 3, sometimes 4 of them, and then I notice off of whatever indicator that I'm using for volume, if it's CVD, if it's volume delta, whatever it is, I'm looking for that to confirm, okay, maybe now I have a little bit of a trend here that I can follow, and then I take that position. That's how that works. Okay, that's how that works. Now let's talk about some of the higher time frame trades. I still have some time. I don't necessarily think that I'm able to see any comments here on YouTube. I apologize. I'm talking here without any end. I had some technical difficulties with Instagram, so I wasn't able to live stream on Instagram today. So I don't think that I'm going to be able to see or follow along with any questions. So I apologize for that in advance. So towards the end of the session, I usually ask for feedback, and I'm usually asking for if there's any questions, because I don't like getting on here and just giving my opinion. I actually like interacting with people. I like to know, what are you guys thinking? So I'm not going to have that ability today, but on Thursday, I believe that this situation would be rectified. Okay, so let's go over more stocks. Let's go over NVIDIA. You see what I'm talking about planning out a trade off of the 1 hour time frame. I have a couple levels. I have 103.65. I didn't draw that level now, right? That level wasn't drawn now. It's very easy to pick that out. It's really easy to pick that out. You just look at anchoring bias. I talk about anchoring bias constantly when I'm educating people about technical analysis and just talking about overall levels. What is an anchoring bias? Just because we hit a level in some time in the past doesn't necessarily mean it's going to respect that boundary, but all of us do it, right? All of us do it. If I know that by human nature, we're going to act a certain way because of a certain condition or a certain thing that we're seeing, we're all reading basically the same thing, I want to try to exploit that. So what am I looking here on NVIDIA? I'm looking to possibly exploit a long or a short position as we come into this level. This held quite well. Over the drawdown on QQQ, we drew down 15.75%, I believe almost 16%. NVIDIA held quite well. How much are we off on the highs on NVIDIA? I'm not that interested in catching NVIDIA. There are other stocks that I would like to catch more, but we're 30% off the highs, a little bit more than that, 31.25%. Off of the daily, I have another leg lower. Personally, I'm interested in NVIDIA if it gets back down to $90. Why do you think I'm interested at 90? Why do you think? Look at the volume node. Look at how much activity is there on the volume node. So some of us might think, hey, Sage, that's stupid, man. Why are you waiting for these setups? Well, that's my job. A trader's job is to wait for a setup. Wait for something so good that you'd be silly not to take the trade. So did I get a good setup here for a short on NVIDIA when my 5 was underpinning my 21? Yeah, I thought I did. Would I have caught that if I was paying closer attention and I didn't have so much of a bias? Yeah, probably I would have. Look at these crosses. They're pretty consistent. If you're taking them on the higher time frame, I'm telling you how I do this. I'm literally telling you how I do this. If I'm going to look at the 1 hour time frame, I'm just looking at whatever moving average cross you want to catch. There's going to be a lot of them the shorter time frame you go, right? There's going to be a whole bunch of them, but check out the 4 hour time frame, right? Just do a little bit of just analytical thinking. If I'm looking at the 4 hour time frame, I can probably catch not the perfect bottom, but I'm going to be catching some peaks and troughs quite consistently. I'm going to catch a short here. I'm going to ride it. Probably not going to there, right? Because my 5 didn't overcome my 21 here. So I'm probably going to ride that trade until we get to about there. So how much of that ride am I catching? If I'm just following the trading strategy that I'm giving you right now, right? If I'm following that, I'm catching a 14% move to the downside. That's pretty good with puts, right? That's pretty good. What about here? Same thing here. If I'm looking at just this one strategy, I'm not really overcomplicating this. If I'm taking right there, if I'm taking that short up to here, that's an 18% move. What if we want to inverse this? What if you are a perma bull just like myself? I'm a perma bull. I'm really not that pessimistic about the market. I'm always when the market sells off a little bit, I'm like, okay, am I going to buy the dip here or not, right? So let's just turn this on its head. What if you want to take a long position? Would you have taken a long position from here to roughly about here? Yeah, you would have caught a 4% move to the upside. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. What are you going to add to this? Well, you're going to add some sort of oscillator. Is it going to be the RSI? Whatever oscillator you choose is fine. I like the VWAP, right? The VWAP is pretty good. And I like volume delta. I like CVD. Those are my indicators that I make a conscious decision on if I'm going to put on a trade or not. Let's actually see NVIDIA right here using that methodology. Let's do that with clean signals. Let's do that off the 4-hour. All right. Just following that. Yeah, there's some trades to catch here, right? What do you think that is? What do you think that is? That's the 5 and the 21. That's literally what it is, the 5 and the 21. If you follow along with that, are you going to catch the exact top and the exact bottom? Well, in some situations, I'm going to catch that trade. In some situations, I'm going to catch some of the move. I'm not going to catch all of it. This one is a little bit late. But if you follow just the overall thought process of those two moving averages, it doesn't have to be the 5 and the 21. It can be whatever moving averages you are. Do some analytical thinking, do a little bit of back testing, and say, okay, this guy that's on YouTube that I'm listening to right now, he doesn't sound that crazy. It kind of makes sense. I can see where the setup is, right? Just think about those kinds of things. So do we have a setup right now for a long off of the 4-hour time frame on NVIDIA? I don't think we do. Be careful with this because you can find a setup depending on, if you're looking for something, be careful with your confirmation bias. This is important too. I don't talk about this generally on when I go live, but I talk a lot about this when I do my power hour sessions because I have more time. And the guys are more up to speed with my just how I think as a trader. So be careful. Be careful. If you're not seeing something on the higher time frame, don't go looking for it on the shorter time frame. Right? If you're going to scalp, that's a different story. Scalping is going to be a different story. But don't be looking for things that really are not meshing with one another. Right? If you're looking to do a higher time frame trade, don't look at the shorter time frame and vice versa. So let's go back to this NVIDIA situation. On NVIDIA, do I have a long that I want to maybe look into? Yeah, I kind of do, right? Because now we're starting to overcome not just the 5 and the 21, but this is going to be the VWAP, right? So would I try a long here and then set a stop loss maybe below my candle? Yeah, probably. My stop loss is going to be 105.75, right? Let's go back to a couple of other trades that I'm looking to catch. So NVIDIA would be one. Apple is going to be number one on my list. Apple is now, it's printing a cup and handle. So cup right here and then handle. We're waiting for a breakout above 225.65. All right, that's what I'm waiting for. Notice the volume node, right? So that's acting as resistance right now. If we do reject this pattern, this cup and handle, then wherever we trade, I'm looking at 215. I've been wanting to catch Apple for a little while. I caught it the first time when we traded back down to 210. I caught from here all the way up to here. So I was a little bit earlier, right? Not following what I just told you about the 5 and the 21 because I wasn't using the 4-hour. I was using the higher time frames in conjunction with the shorter time frames. I was using dual time frames to catch my entry here. So I did. I got in at 210 and then I released my trade. I believe I released it at 219. I'm looking for something very similar. I'm looking for 217 or possibly back down to 212. But Apple has been the strongest stock in the market, I would say, thus far. Okay, I would say thus far. So let's wait for Apple. If I can get a breakout above 223.50, then I want to catch it long because at that point in time, we're looking at a nice, decent recovery. Next, what I'm looking to catch is going to be Meta. So Meta hit one of my areas right here, 556.20. So that is an area of interest. Overall, we have not overcome the downtrend. That's not happening quite yet. So when we do, off of either the 1-hour or the 4-hour time, actually we did a little bit here. We tried to. Off of that 4-hour time frame, never mind the fibs here. The fibs are not going to be part of today's analysis. Off of the 4-hour time frame, if you want to confirm and see if you have a fairly decent entry, wait for this to overcome that. Where is that going to happen approximately? That's going to happen between $584 to approximately $590. Okay. I wouldn't take this position quite yet because you haven't confirmed that you're out of this slump overall. The trend overall for the last couple of weeks, I don't have to tell you guys, is overall down. Okay, overall it's down. All right, let's see what else we have. I think that those were the things that I wanted to point out the most. Nokia, I took Nokia at 420. So this right now is moving quite well. All the principles that I just discussed, Nokia at $4.20. After this move to the downside, I identified a buying opportunity. I made 70% on these calls. That's fine. MSTR, we're still slumping a little bit here on SPY and Qs. Microsoft, I'm not interested. So the only things that I was interested, and maybe Tesla. Okay, I'll go over Tesla for the last couple minutes, and then we'll call it a day here, ladies and gentlemen. Yeah, this probably is going to be my most interesting analysis to most of you, because what I talked about now is more mom and dad stuff, right? It's more, usually the retail traders are looking for really smaller time frame analysis, which there's nothing wrong with that. I do that myself. Of course, I'm a retail trader. But let's check out the 1 hour. Okay, so this is the 200-day moving average. Let me get rid of that just 1 second, because we know where that is, right? That's going to be our magnetized area. What do we have right now on Tesla? Did I signal a position on Tesla right here? Yeah, I did. I took a position on Tesla. I got stopped out by one of these stupid candles. It's just part of the game. It's just part of the game. So where was the exit? Well, what is the exit criteria on Tesla? If you've taken it here, your exit criteria is approximately right there, right when, you know, your moving averages start to cross, right? Very simple strategy, very simple strategy. So right now you had a little bit of a buy signal right here, right? A little bit of it. But overall, do you have a lot of confidence to be aping into Tesla with the market conditions? Not really. So what are you going to be waiting for? You're going to be waiting for trading back down into this zone, right? Because the 5 and the 21 is just one condition. It doesn't necessarily mean you're going to fire on every single little cross, right? You're going to be taking a lot of trades, and you're going to be disappointed on very shallow price action. So that's the 1 hour time frame. Let's check out the 4. The 4 hour time frame, you had a clean signal right there, and you had a clean signal to get out. So what do we have on the 4? Are we confirming an overall trend upwards or downwards? Not yet, not in either direction. So wait for 250 again. I said 250 last week. Wait for it again, and then wait for us to trade back down into this volume node. Right about there. 230 to 235, right? That's what I would recommend. That's what I would definitely recommend, and that's what I'm going to be waiting for as well. I have a couple of alerts on TV, so if that were to come to pass, or if we start breaking lower on Tesla, which I personally believe we will. This is just an opinion. This has nothing to do with calculating, nothing to do with that. It has everything to do with where I think, personally, where Tesla is going to be trading. Do I have that confirmation to say, hey, let's buy some puts and then short the crap out of Tesla? No, I don't. We're right in the middle, smack dab in the middle of the RSI on the 4 hour time frame. This is not where I make those kinds of calls. I'm not making decisions, you know, a month out of where the stock can be trading if we are not at extremes on either side of the spectrum, either overbought, oversold, what have you. Cool. And let me look at the short interest on Tesla too. That's kind of probably going to be, yeah, it's high. It's high. It's been elevated for a period of time. So we had elevated short interest about here. We didn't really have all that much short interest when we got at the peak, but we're getting a little bit of that now. Okay, that's all I have, guys. Thank you for joining this session. I'm going to call it a day. Also, if you're so inclined, we have a newsletter that I've been following myself, right? Our newsletter is something new that we have at HighStrike. So on the Instagram page, if you click in the bio, you're going to have access to a newsletter that I'm basically using because it consolidates everything. So all the things that are important for me as a trader, all the things that I'm looking for are going to be there. Why is the market moving? Why did it sell off? What's going on? What's the most pressing matter in the market for right now? What does the calendar look like? What are some of the things that I need to be aware of if I'm taking a position, especially some of the larger positions on the indexes? All that stuff is going to be in the newsletter. So if you are interested, just click the bio on the Instagram page and you will have access to that. All right. I really appreciate it, guys. Thank you so much. I know that, you know, I'm on YouTube today. I wasn't able to, I had a bug on Instagram, but on Thursday, I believe that this situation will be rectified. So I appreciate it. I have some work that I'm doing on the back end, and I have a couple things that I still need to compute to make sure that if I'm taking positions, it's following my strategy quite well. But so far, it's looking pretty good. It really is looking pretty good. I would like these signals to be a little bit earlier, but there's some sophisticated coding that's going on in the background here. So on the shorter time frames, maybe the 10 or the 15-minute time frame, I've been able to catch certain positions. So this is a signal, this is a signal, this is a signal, and this is a signal. I got a pretty clear signal yesterday. So this is off of NVIDIA. Let's see what we have on NQ. Let's see if that works. So that is a signal. This is the signal that I caught yesterday. I caught a short here. And then I don't know why. I really can't tell you why. I don't know why I didn't catch that long signal. I just had my head up my ass. Okay, that's a pretty cool signal. That's a pretty cool signal. That's a really cool signal. That is a really good signal. Jesus. I'm starting to like this strategy more and more and more. Okay, that's all I have, ladies and gentlemen. Everyone, enjoy your day. Reach out to us if you can. And later, after today, if I take any trades, I'm going to be doing a trading review, provided I have the time. But thank you so much for joining the session, and I'll see you guys on Thursday.